Great. Board Chairman Doug Hewson welcoming everybody to this, a special meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Trustees. It's 6:03 on July 6th, 2021. Welcome everybody. We'll start with a brief roll call. And since I'm looking on the screen, it makes it fairly easy to me, but if you'd signify by saying present, we have Superintendent Dr. Michael Scott.
Fine. It's Mary Beth, but only write down the board members for roll call name.
We've got Trustee Glenn Rogers.
Present.
Trustee Edward Watson.
Present.
Trustee Dr. Jolene Smith.
Here, thank you.
And we have also, let me just check and see. We have, well, I'll just introduce Principal Chung, even though you're not a board member. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
And then we have also a candidate for the board as well. And that's Ethan Kay, I believe. Is that right?
That is correct. Present.
Fantastic. And then taking notes for us is Mary Beth Chen.
Present.
And welcome all parents and public as well. Well, we're going to normally have a brief opportunity for any parent comments or public comments. Then it'll be followed by a quick pledge of allegiance, and then our 4 board items. All will be in public session today. But let's see, parents, if you have something you'd like to share, I think there's maybe one thing from Lily, and I'll take a look at that. And then we'll see if any other parents want to signify by putting something in the chat. Let me read this, if I may, for you, Lily, unless you want to say it out loud. If you want to say it, feel free to just unmute and you could share. Otherwise, I'll read it. I'm happy to read it then. Dear IIA Board, my name is Lily. I'm excited to enroll my child in the Mandarin Immersion Program. A lawyer and attorney who grew up as an immigrant here in Irvine, I appreciate this opportunity. I'm sure there are many parents like me who are excited about this school. After watching some board meeting recorded videos shared on YouTube, I have a couple of questions and concerns. Dr. Scott told parents during one of the Zoom meetings that he's a registered nurse, a school special ed teacher, and an elementary, middle, and high school teacher, or at least probably background is what she's asking. What exactly will his role be? And then the concern parents have is because board meetings are supposed to be run by board members. Hold on, I'm going to catch up. But is not seem, I think, to be that way in the past months. Could Dr. Scott elaborate the reason why his prior Hope Charter Academy was closed? After it opened, the following is quoted directly. Riverside County and state school officials expressed concern about the academy's attendance records, leading the state to withhold funding. School district officials had alleged violations of include a lack of credentialed teachers, promoting Christianity, financial mismanagement, and conflicts of interest. Because I think it's Dr. Scott served as board member and the director. Could each board member explain what he's done to prevent that from happening? Number 2, could each board member explain why all of a sudden decides to add 2 more board members? We'll do that during the course of our meeting. And then it seems appalling that important decision like this was discussed during closed session. Nothing was shared with parents afterwards. According to the email updates shared by Dr. Scott, IIA received a grant from Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation. Now IIA decides to add one of the board members from Hogue Foundation, Brett Freeman. How will board members explain that to the OCDE? That is not a bribe to buy a seat. Is Freeman also related to the director? Okay, a few things to unpack there. Why don't we, let's see. Let's deal with a couple of them in sequence. First of all, thank you, Lily, and congratulations on being I think a California attorney. You could clarify later if that's the case. Let's deal first with who runs the board. The board runs the board. I'm the chairman of the board, so I run the meetings. So in my absence, I may ask another board member to run as vice chair. Last board meeting, I had the privilege of having Glenn Rogers run it, but the chairman and vice chair or other designee will run the board meetings and have since the beginning, even prior to public sessions before we were approved. So that's the case there. Feel free to reach out to me at any time if you feel that I'm not running the board, and I'll have as much of a conversation as possible with you. What may be beneficial here next. Okay, Dr. Scott, would you share your role, what your role is and what your role is not? I think that might be really helpful to this parent.
Okay. My role as the superintendent is to operate the school. We work through committees. The governance, we have 3 standing committees. The governance committee is the one that puts forth names for consideration for new board positions. I am not a voting member of the board at all. There's a lot more. I'd be happy to meet with you to answer your questions. Please call me. My cell phone number is 951-892-8907. Be happy to give you more details to your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. In general, by the way, for board members, while it's not mandatory to respond to public comments, we're at an early stage, and we want to have as much trust with parents as possible. So using a little bit of flexibility there, I hope you don't mind. The ones that are worth responding to, we respond to, and if it helps build trust, we do. I would say this, I think it would be a good conversation for Lily and Dr. Scott to talk about past school involvement that doesn't really involve us at this point. So I don't see a lot of fruit there other than personally them discussing that one. That brings us to, the addition of board members we'll talk about during that time on our agenda, if you're okay with that, Lily. Board members, anything you would rather add to this comments before we move forward to our pledge and to the board agenda? Okay, yeah, let's do that. I brought something I think that might be helpful, seeing as how it's been 4th of July. Sometimes we have our pledge to the flag without a flag, but I asked my wife to grab a live flag. I know it seems a little silly, but I like it, and it takes me back to my early days in school. And so could I lead the Pledge of Allegiance? I usually put my hand over my heart. Do as you feel comfortable and ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I know propagation delay makes that sound very funny, but appreciate it. And it's a great modeling we do for our students as well. Okay, on the agenda is 4 items, and it's appropriate Lily brought up item number 4. But first, I made the mistake, please forgive. Almost every contract we'll discuss for employees is done in closed session as a courtesy to those employees. I did not realize the one contract we discussed publicly is for the highest level or head of school or superintendent of the school. And while we did that in closed session, it's appropriate to make that discussion public. And so I want to open up for first conversation, and then we'll actually have a motion again regarding the approval of the contract for our superintendent. And so to begin with, a conversation from the board about our superintendent and the contract, which also includes salary. Begin with either question or discussion. Everyone knows I'll talk, of course, but I wanted to be courteous and tee it up. Our duty as a board, and this is for the public as well, our duty as a board is to act diligently in the selection and also in the compensation and contract we offer our superintendent. As a board member, we're the fiduciaries. And so I mentioned last time in closed session, two things. One is that we should do the diligence to research what an appropriate salary is, laying out at least two things. One pole of tension is that of retention. We want to have a superintendent that stays with us and also can afford to live in or near the area that he serves. Same with our other employees. We want them to be able to live close so they're not commuting from a long distance. Second, we want to recognize the appropriate skill level and also responsibility, and then also a commensurate salary with those peers in either like districts or like schools with like responsibility. So those are the poles of tension we have. I think I said a quote from John Ruskin that it's unwise to pay too much, but it's worse to pay too little. If we pay too much, we lose a little money, that's all. But if we pay too little, we may lose everything, because that which we purchase, a superintendent for 2 years, may not be able to do what we need them to do. So board members, would you please add any of the comments that you shared last time or new thoughts as we prepare to approve a superintendent contract?
Yeah, so Doug, it's Glenn. So as we discussed in closed session, right, what was the right title, right? And I think we agreed on the director title, right? That made the most sense based upon the size of the school. He wasn't running multiple schools, and based upon that, compared it to the IUSD salary. That's how we came up with the salary structure. So I came out of closed session feeling comfortable with that result.
And so you really like this executive director. By the way, I think Dr. Smith, in your role, you chose that over superintendent as well. But Glenn, I think you're right. Let's hear from either you or Dr. Smith a little more on that, because I do think that's a helpful title, because in people's minds, superintendent could mean one who oversees an entire district as opposed to one who oversees the first of maybe a series of schools. So executive director fits us in that. But comment a little more on that if you would, either of you.
Yes, I chose the title of executive director because my role was a little bit different than superintendents in the past. Mine was the more visionary role, as well as leading the executive team. And the executive team consists of the directors and or administration at each school level. I have 4 school levels: preschool, the preschool, elementary, middle school, and high school levels. And so the term executive director seemed to fit much better than a term of a superintendent, especially at the small private school that I'm at.
Thank you. Thank you. Other board members, thoughts? Some want to discuss the role that we place on that executive director of charging them also with inspiring generosity and giving to the school, the recognition of 1.5 years of building the school and founding it. Anybody want to comment on that?
I wanted to just echo Glenn's thoughts. Mine were similar, that after the last meeting, we were judging based on the IUSD salary scale, and the executive director seemed to be the most appropriate pay, and taking into account his experience and the time spent building the school.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think, Doug, that's key, right? Is we spent close to 2 years building the school, right? And Dr. Scott hasn't been compensated at all for that, right? So there should be something there to enable that to happen, right? And like, we built the school from nothing, right? We've established our board, we've established the foundation for the property for the school. We've gotten funding for the school, both internally and externally, right? So we've built the technology to support the school, and now we've hired all the right teachers for the school. So and the school hasn't even formally launched, right? We're about to launch it, right? So I think it's just key that we get the right superintendent in place to help run the school, and of course with with Stephen to help run it as on the day-to-day basis.
Right. No, that's very good. One of the other considerations too is that we want to compensate. Well, we were asked that from our county, that we compensate at or about what Irvine Unified School District. Their belief is that the compensation should match and attract quality people, and so
Right.
that's a good guideline. And so for public, Dr. Scott's contract we're offering is at $208,000 per year for 2 years. We'll evaluate it. Obviously, this board will evaluate performance each year, but we're limited to 2 years, and that's a nice safeguard. Not that I think we need it, but 2 years may seem like a long time, but it's going to go very quickly. I think that works well with him and gives him the insurance that he'll be here for 2 years and can build for the future. And so, great. Thank you, everybody. With that in mind, I know in our previous meeting, we had a motion, but let's go ahead and do it fresh. Could I ask for a motion then to offer the contract as written to Dr. Scott, and we'll publish that with the county as well.
I make a motion to institute Dr. Scott as our executive director for IIA.
Thank
And
you.
I second it.
Okay. It does bring up one slight edit, if you'll permit me. In the original version, I had the word superintendent / executive director. If you're comfortable, I'll remove superintendent and leave executive director. But with that in mind, then, with that small change and the motion on the table, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And so motion carries unanimous. Would you forgive me to rewind? I'm using a different one. We do need to approve the prior meetings minutes that were so eloquently captured by our staff. We each received those earlier. Could I ask for a motion to receive the prior minutes from the prior meeting?
Yeah, Doug, I'll motion to receive prior minutes. I had read through them and no concerns.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I second.
Thank you. And then all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And so minutes are approved. Thank you. Second topic is the approval of using a vendor. It's a commonly used vendor to operate and coordinate our retirement plan. It's a 403B. It's the equivalent of a 401k for nonprofits. And it's Schools First Credit Union. I've had personal experience, but I'd like to discuss it for a minute and then just ask for a motion to approve the vendor Schools First Credit Union to be our 403B coordinator. And then that will trigger also for them, I believe out of that, we will have a document we'll present to them signifying the board approved that. They need that on file. Discussions on 403B. Maybe we could hear just for a moment from Principal Chong. You did the initial research. Thank you. Are you comfortable, and Michael Scott, with what we're offering on the 403B and them as a provider?
Okay, sure. I can share. So in the beginning, we were looking for 401k. We offered the optional retirement plan for our employees, but we learned that because we are public school, so we can only offer 403B. And then we reach out to other vendors. Then we contact our accounting company, Athena Advanced. So they said, because we are under the Orange County Department of Education, so we have to follow and their vendors. So we do the research. The only vendor they have is this one. That's why. That's where we are right now.
Beautiful.
One small point. The 403B is for the classified staff. The teachers have state teacher retirement system, which is STRS.
Got you. Perfect. Yep. Thank you for that distinction and clarification. So great. Board members, any questions or comments either for Dr. Scott, Principal Chung, or one another?
So Doug, what came out of our last session was trying to get a document in front of us for us to look at. Is there such a document?
Yes. Did we put that up in either our board policy areas, Principal Chung, or was it with Mary Beth's?
Yeah, I attached it to the last board minutes, Glenn. I think it was there. It's the schools first.
Guys, I missed it.
It was a
Apologize,
PDF file.
missed it.
On that.
Oh, it's at one of the pages within the document.
Yeah, it wasn't this last one. It was the one last week. I can send it again if you don't have it.
Yeah, there's not many organizations that handle these for schools. Schools First is one of the handful. But that would be good. Let's make sure we put it up in our board binder area. That'd be great.
That's fine.
I'll do that.
Thank you. All right, with that then in mind, could I ask for a motion again then? This one, of course, should be again in public session. Could I ask for a motion then to accept Schools First as our coordinator and provider for 403B coordination? I haven't gotten the box scores yet, so I'll make that motion that we
Oh, yeah.
approve the Schools First as our vendor. Would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Then all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, Schools First, and we'll move forward. Perfect timing too, because we'll be bringing our employees on continually from this point till school starts. Next is a discussion, and then if there is a nomination to fill a spot, love to do it. If we don't fill a spot tonight, I'm okay. But the discussion is, we want to have a finance committee. It's set in our charter. It could be 3-4 people, but the idea is that a subpart of our board, but not a majority, could stay intimately involved with finances, preview each month's report that will come from Athena that will basically be both a variance report on how we're doing against budget, also be a statement of net assets. And if you can look at that ahead of time, interpret it, and then make a board presentation for a short board presentation each month on finances, that's what we're asking of that board. We've already got our banking set up, but should another banking opportunity arise, we'd look to that committee to work with our executive director. So right now, Dr. Scott's on that board. As board chair, I'm currently on that board. I do not have to remain on the board, but I'm comfortable with that in the early months. But let's hear from the board if there's some desire, interest, and availability on that. If there is strong interest and availability, we could have a discussion and then appoint a third or fourth member. We could come back to this in a month as well. What's your feeling and thinking on this, board?
So Doug, Mike, I've been nominated as treasurer to this board, right? So I think logically, it probably makes sense to be part of the finance committee, right? That's my opinion, but.
I think that's an integral piece since you have that role within our board. And if that transfers, then you could obviously say, hey, whoever takes on treasurer could also be a likely candidate for this board. I like that. I don't want to overtax our board in any way. That's why we've employed Athena. They're going to do the heavy lifting, and they're going to be available once a month for this committee to have a brief interpretation of those. And it could be that one of our 2 new board members has a affinity for that. So I do like the idea of at least adding Glenn at this point. That gets us our 3. Then if someone else wants to come on, we can visit it again in a month. Dr. Smith, Ed Watson, what's some of your thoughts or feelings?
For the finance committee, I mean, it sounds like you have 3 people there. I don't think the finance committee is my forte, so I probably wouldn't be an integral part of that, at least for now, maybe in the future.
Thank you. And I did like your offer to be looking out there for a board candidate in the future that might be a great addition that comes from academic background and has a child in our school. And that would be a great service you could do to the board too. Dr. Smith, what's your feeling at this point? You've been in these meetings. This may be one that you go, not my season, but if it is your season, that's great.
Right. I would say yes, that this season is difficult for me as I'm currently a part of a school financing and so on. Any way that I can be in the way of just maybe collaborating and in something, maybe some questions, I'd be fine with that. But I like what I hear from Mr. Rogers and Doug, also you being a part of that as well.
Fantastic. Dr. Scott, please comment. Yeah.
I would hope that on the finance committee, we can have 3 board members. We can have a lot more after that, but up to 3, because the board would become 7, that I hope will happen. That's not a majority. And then the finance committee will be key. The people involved would be the ones that understand the community of Irvine and the donors and the systems that are set up in Irvine. That would be something that would really be important for the finance committee. And then we have a lot of projects and future ideas. That will be important as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps understand a little bit of the future scope there as well. So for now, I would love to have a motion to add Glenn Rogers to that committee with the idea and the understanding that we'll revisit this in the near future because the new candidates coming onto the board may be strong candidates as well. But that'd be cart before the horse. And I think we can walk before we run too. Someone interested in that motion that we add Glenn Rogers to the finance committee?
I'll make a motion to add Glenn Rogers, our treasurer of the board, to be part of the finance committee.
Thank you. A second? I'd like to second that. Now it's kind of interesting. Glenn will probably recuse himself from this vote, but we still have 3 board members. And so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, welcome Treasurer Rogers to that committee. And again, we're strengthening our organization. That's really good. And I'll revisit this on a future agenda as well. The last discussions, I think, are really 2 discussions. It's the invitation for consideration to have Ethan Kay, who's with us today, join the board. Also, an invitation to Brett Freeman to join the board. And again, these are open session. I apologize, I didn't know they were not closed session discussions. I think they are best done one by one. Personally, I've thought through that a little bit. If there's no objections to approaching them that way, I'd like to open up the discussion about Ethan Kay extending an invitation to join the board. For public's sake, we've had the opportunity to see his life work or CV or resume. And I wonder if that's something, Principal Chung, did we put that on our Facebook page or onto our website yet?
Yes, the CVs are on the website.
Okay, on the website. So great, thank you. I think that's great for parents. They can see the vast background. Since we have him here, I think as we get ready to do some discussion, Ethan, would you be willing to give us the elevator version, meaning the time it takes to go up or down in an elevator, just an introduction to you, your family, and your background with education?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chairman Doug. My name is Ethan Kay. I am an Irvine native. I grew up here since 1980, never in Woodbridge. I never thought I would be coming back to Irvine. Travel around, I would say about 40 countries around 40 to 60 countries around the world. Spent quite a bit of time in Africa and Central America. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and in 2018, I decided to move my career into education and focused on early childhood. I own and operate 4 Montessori schools in Oceanside, Mission Viejo, Westside, Garden Grove, and Los Alamitos. But if primarily focus on up to preschool, we do have a very small boutique elementary program up in Westside Garden Grove, which I'm actively integral in that. Last part is my family's all in education, work a lot with higher education, UCI, Chapman, and as well as hospitals from Cedar Sinai, Hoag, UCI research centers. Very excited to join the board.
Thank you. Board members, comments, questions, we're all here together. We can ask them of one another, but we also have Ethan Kay with us. And I know this is maybe a repeat, but it's always nice to have a refresh. I do want to welcome board member Zhang as well. Thank you for joining us, Miller. And we're on item D, or number 4, and we're looking at separately the invitation for Ethan Kay to join the board, and then we'll have a discussion about Brett Freeman. Board members, comments, questions?
So, Doug, Glenn, so question is, Ethan, kind of describe to me kind of why you got interested in our board, right? And moving forward with us. I understand you've lived in Irvine, you have a tremendous amount of ability of growing schools. Why get involved with the Irvine International Academy?
Wonderful question, Glenn. I focus all of my efforts right now into education. I just have everything turned off of a different board that focused a little bit of that talk about the holistic aspects of a child. I want to focus my career very focused on education, primarily hard skills of development. In order for me to really start to render high quality early child education, I'm spending quite a bit of time, especially during this pandemic, as we're getting out of it, to understand what's happening top down. I need to understand what's the social climate from adults, young adults, higher education, high school, junior high, and more specifically at the elementary. I have a 5- and 7-year-old. My daughter is an expert at watching TikTok. My son is an expert user of YouTube. And so as a result, I want to understand and spend time and also bring value, as I'm doing a lot of research for the elementary program and really trying to bring value. So making sure preschoolers can be transitioned well to elementary, and also just making sure. I never thought there would be a Mandarin immersion program in this city of Irvine, and it's wow, cannot believe it got done.
Is
So
your
very
intention
excited.
even to enroll your children in the school?
I do.
Okay.
That is my intention.
Other board members, I get excited about the passion that we all share for education in general, and then specifically the school. Any other comments or thoughts from board members? Great. We invited for the public as well, who will.
Sorry, Doug, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add that in my time in getting to know Ethan a little bit more, I'm very excited about what he does bring to the board here with his excitement and passion towards education, and also his experience. So I'm very excited about bringing that to the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will echo with that too. I think your motivation and also passion, and then along that with the benefit within your own family. This is the future that we have to look into. And then linguistic development is essential for our children, the future. Yeah. Thank you, Ethan, for your passion.
Very good. Well, the middle word in our name is international. And I think you qualify if you visited 50 countries. It's pretty exciting. That's neat. Well, I want to take them one by one then. Could I invite a motion then to extend an invitation for Ethan Kay to join our board?
Yeah, Doug, I'll take that motion to
Thank you.
extend Ethan Kay.
Glenn. Miller seconds. Then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? And unanimously carries. Welcome to the board, Ethan. And at least welcome to the invitation to the board. Is this something that then you're prepared to accept tonight?
I am.
Oh, thank you. And I know that we've afforded you the, I believe, Mary Beth, if we've not given them the link to the online board policy area, let's do that. We can invite them, either yourself or Principal Chung, and I'll kind of work with onboarding. Michael, go ahead.
Ethan, I just was wondering, how many boards have you had experience with? Doug has been shouldering a lot, and I'd like to hear a little bit more of your board experience.
Actually, that's a great question. I was going through it. I actually five or six, and probably 5 to 6 committees. So I'm actually turning off my 2 commercial real estate community boards. So I've been on some boards this last 15 years. Yes.
And your family is a board at UC Irvine, is that correct?
Yes, my brother sits on, I believe, the Chapman's governors. I can't keep track of what boards he sits on, and then my father is still a trustee of the UCI Foundation.
Very good. Well, that's a welcome addition to this team, and each of us brings a little something unique, which strengthens our team. Let's move on then to a discussion regarding Brett Freeman. Let me take the temperature real quick in the room. I've had the unique opportunity to spend time with Brett Freeman. So has Ethan Kay, so has Dr. Scott, but that's not been the personal experience with everybody. Let me just see the both the willingness to discuss and move forward, asking for a motion, and then any reticence, because while I'm patient, I do want things to move forward, but I'd rather we move forward together in unity than to move forward hastily. And so let me just get a temperature. How are you feeling about this discussion? Is this a discussion you're prepared for, or do you have some reticence, and what is that? And do you have a preference, which is, hey, could we have we're in a tricky spot because we can't all gather outside of a public forum like this to chat with somebody like Brett Freeman, but individuals could. So let me hear what you're feeling and thinking.
So Doug, Glenn, I haven't met him, right? So I'd like the opportunity to spend some time with him before getting my vote on him for this board.
Yeah, same here. I've mentioned the last meeting and this meeting both times that I've pointed out that he wasn't at the meetings. So I find that, I guess I'd like to meet him first. And if he wants to be a part of this board, I would assume that he would be at one of the meetings. And to go back to what one of the parents brings up, Lily, I really don't have any answers to that, her concerns as well. I don't know how to address her concerns about this.
Great. Let's hear from Dr. Scott, and then I'll just give the other board members a chance to chime in too.
Just to clarify, Brett has a previous class commitment on Tuesdays until July 20th. And originally we were going to set this meeting to Wednesday so that he would be able to be here. But in consideration for Glenn, we moved it to Tuesday. So again, he couldn't make the meeting. But those are all good things. The truth is, you're going to love him when you meet him. Ethan has had a chance to talk to him also, though, just to add that note. And one more question. I just talked with him myself. His father leads the Orange County Music and Dance, which is associated with our school. And Brett has agreed that he sees no conflict because he has nothing to do with that organization, but he's agreed to recluse himself on anything that's related. So there wouldn't be any possibility of conflict.
Thank you. That's a good insight too.
Yeah.
let me hear from Miller and Dr. Smith as well, and then from Ethan as well. Because I do want you to get a chance to be confident in him, because I think like Dr. Smith said, you'll be like, oh my goodness. But go ahead, Miller.
Yeah, but there's a Chinese say that, 百闻不如一见. So we heard about that, we learned about it, the resume, but I think I would just say that we need to meet personally before we can make any further decision. I would prefer me in person if we can. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that, and I think that
we rush, right? I don't think we are rushed to create our what do you call a board that has to be. I think it's right now functional, and then if it was rushing into it, I would just hesitate a bit.
Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, so well, I would say this: being a part of this board and being a part of from the very beginning of the construction of the charter itself and getting things going, I put a lot of trust in Dr. Scott for one, and talking with him, and so I take great care to hear what he has to say and his recommendation, definitely. Also, Doug, with you as well. I've worked with you for a number of years and know you. So because of that, I look at, first of all, taking your recommendation and hearing that, and he comes with high recommendations from both of you. I do agree with the board, though, that it would be nice to have a conversation with him. Do ask those questions like Glenn Roger has asked Ethan here, just why are you interested in being a part of the board with us? We all have reasons as to why we have taken the time to be a part of this school and build this school out, and are so excited about why this school is starting and moving forward. And so I would like to hear what his comments would be in that area as well. But as far as your recommendation, I totally agree with the recommendation. I think it's a good part, would be a good position on the board for him, but I would like to have some conversation. That would be great.
Thank you. Ethan, as a new board member, you have the unique perspective of sitting in both chairs in the same night. How do you think that would feel to him? I feel like it would be respectful to him to reach out and say, our board members, care so much about this school. They care about you. We want to meet you before we extend that invitation. Give me your perspective.
Wonderful. I got the pleasure to meet with him. I had the pleasure to speak about, actually, I would say almost 45 minutes. One-on-one. We both didn't know who we just met each other without know who each other was and what we did and what we can bring to the table. This gentleman is, Brett is he brings a lot of value to this board. I saw that. Not only his child will be coming to the school, but the way his thought process is very sound and very logical, practical, and patient gentleman.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to find in the end he's the right candidate, but doing it the right way is equally important. And so I'll take heed from the board. What I'll do is I'll work a little bit with maybe Mary Beth to get maybe two of you together with him on a Zoom call to chat, another two, because Ethan's met him, but if I get Dr. Smith and Miller together on one call, Glenn and Edward on another call, let you have some time with him. Then let's have him come to our meeting at the end of the month that we would have, which I think is an in-person meeting. We want to finish July with an in-person meeting. I think we could extend it at that point. Dr. Scott, when I reach out to him, will that offend him? We don't want to offend him. It's just timing. I think we're going to love him.
Oh, no, he'll love that. He tried to contact Miller. He's left some messages. So he wants to meet you all. My only caution is only 2 members at a time, because we're at 6. We don't want to violate the Brown Act.
Thank you. Good recommendation. And that's, yeah, I won't participate, but I'll work to make that happen too. And I love the questions that Glenn teed up and Dr. Smith echoed. Hearing someone's passion about being on this board. We can read the CV. He's got great qualifications, but as much as competency is important, chemistry is as well. So thank you. That's that brings us to the end of our board agenda. I think there's sometimes two things worthy. I don't want to ignore what Lily gave us. So thank you, Lily. I'll ask Dr. Scott to follow up with you for a conversation about things he knows from many years ago. Other than that, we do often open it up one more time for for public comments. And if there's then any recommendations, go ahead, Dr. Scott.
I think you need to table this motion before you leave it.
So we're not going to make the motion. We'll table the motion to extend an invitation to Brett Freeman to the board. Do we need a vote on that, in your opinion?
I would.
Okay, why don't I then make the motion then to table this invitation to Brett Freeman till the near future when each board member can have a chance to meet him. Anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Thank you, Brett Freeman, when you watch this later, for being patient. Okay, so under the category of last open comments from public, if you do have one, would you please enter the chat area with your name? And if it's going to be verbal, just say, I'd like to address the board, and we'll get a opportunity to hear from any of the parents or public. Again, thank you for those that are participating. I'm looking at a number of other people, Katie, also Ruth and others, and Lily. Any others? Well, we'll be diligent to follow up with the earlier inquiries. At this time then, any board recommendations, things that you want to charter our superintendent or principal with before we prepare for adjournment? I feel the same way. They're doing a great job, and a lot of positive things on the horizon. I will applaud them for opening up the school. I walked through the campus today. Of course, there's an open invitation to board members, Miller, to fly down and walk through. But it's inspiring already. So that's great. Let's put a bow on the meeting then. Could I have a motion for adjournment? Oh, Mike, Dr. Scott, you have a super update?
Yeah, just a quick thing. I did go ahead and send my phone number to Lily to welcome her to talk with me at the school if convenient. So I just wanted you to know I already contacted her. And
Doug, one more item before we go is one thing that got raised during the last board meeting was the school books, right? I think we got to agreement on 3 of the 5. Is there an update, Stephen, on where we're at, and Michael, on Dr. Scott, on which we're doing for science and math?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot.
I have an appointment tomorrow to talk to a history publisher.
Okay.
At 1 o'clock. And we want to take a little bit more time on the science and history. The rest of them are pretty standard, but the approach that we take in science and history are going to be important because for science, we're doing it in Mandarin.
Right.
So we'll probably pick 2 or 3 publishers, ask them to bring the books so that we can evaluate them better.
And but what's our with time frame of getting books shipped? When's your drop dead date to get this back to the board to take a look at or ratify one way or the other, and to get it in, to have the books in ability for us to launch?
Yeah, we kind of have this one problem with books is we can't receive them until August 19th. So if they're in stock, we're fine and the ordering process can go forward.
Okay.
I hope to have an answer for you in a week.
That's fine.
And
All right. Doug, that was one of the open items that was out from last week that we needed just some clarification on.
Good.
Thank you. I'm glad you remembered. That's funny. It came up today while I was there on campus. Oh, great. Well, wonderful. Thank you, everybody. And
I do have another announcement real quick. I've talked with Dr. Vo. He's a cardiologist and vascular surgeon in Irvine. I've been working real hard to develop the STEM part of our program. We have a lot of people interested in engineering, science. Dr. Vo is making himself available to serve as a science coordinator for our STEM program. He is a graduate of Stanford. His medical degree is from Harvard, and he did advanced work at Oxford. He had several perfect scores on his test, and yet he's as personable a person as you ever want to talk to. And he's offering to coordinate science, give his advice. We can hire then a teacher to move forward in training other teachers based on the leadership he's offering, including he's offering to be our physician for the school. Since he's located in Irvine, if we have an emergency, he's also a pediatric trained physician. And I just wanted you to be aware that's what's been happening for our STEM.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. Well, great. Thank you, everybody, for flexibility. Could I invite then a motion for adjournment?
I motion for adjournment.
And a second, please.
A second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mary Beth. We can end the recording, and thank you for being diligent with the minutes and posting of the video. Thank you, public, for being a part, especially Lily with the inquiries as well. We're grateful, and thank you for all who watched us later.
Great. Ethan, welcome aboard. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ethan.
Thank